The day my life changed, I was counting ketchup packets. That is the honest truth. I was standing behind the counter of a corner store on the wrong side of the city, in a uniform that smelled like old coffee, counting 37 ketchup packets because my manager said we were always running out and someone had to keep track. That someone was always me. My name is Riley Harper. I was 23 years old. I had a business degree I had never used, a grandmother named Clara who was sick in a hospital across town, and exactly $412 in my bank account. I knew the exact amount because I had checked it that morning, standing in the bathroom of the apartment we shared, and I had stared at those numbers until they blurred. The medical bills were past $3,000. I was counting ketchup packets. That was where Aunt Beatrice found me. She pushed open the glass door of the store at 10 minutes past 7 in the evening, wearing a cream-colored coat that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and she looked around the store the way people look at something they feel sorry for. "Riley," she said. Not a question. A statement. I hadn't seen Beatrice in 4 years. She was my father's sister, which meant she was family in the way that a locked door is part of a house, technically connected but always keeping you out. She smelled like expensive perfume and something sharper underneath it. Ambition, maybe. "Aunt B.A., I said. "Don't call me that." She set her bag on the counter and looked at me. "I have a job for you." I laughed. I actually laughed, which tells you how tired I was, because nothing about the way she said it was funny. "I have a job," I told her. "You are counting condiments, Riley." She glanced at the packets in my hand. "I'm offering you $7,000. The ketchup packets hit the counter. She told me the rest of it quickly, the way people do when they know the details are ugly and they want to get past them before you have time to think. A man named Lorenzo Lombardi, the head of a business empire that everyone in the city knew, had roots deeper than any building permit could explain. She needed someone on the inside. Someone who could get close. Someone who could report back. "You want me to spy on him," I said. "I want you to work for him," she corrected. "As his executive assistant. Everything else will happen naturally." "What does naturally mean?" She smiled. It did not reach her eyes. "It means you are a beautiful, intelligent young woman, and men like Lorenzo notice those things." I stared at her. "And if I say no?" She reached into her coat pocket and set a folded piece of paper on the counter between us. I didn't pick it up. I already knew what it was. I had been sending the same letter to the hospital every 2 weeks, asking for more time. "Your grandmother has 3 months, Beatrice said. With the right care facility, with the right treatment, she could have 3 years. Maybe more." She paused. "The money would be transferred the same day you start." I picked up the paper. I unfolded it. I looked at my grandmother's name at the top, and I thought about her hands. How they had braided my hair when I was little. How they had held mine at my parents' funeral when I was 9 years old and the world had ended the first time. "What are the rules?" I asked. Beatrice's smile widened. "No truth. No feelings. Walk away the moment I tell you to." I folded the paper back up. I put it in my pocket. "I want the money in her account before I walk through his door," I said. "Not mine. Hers." Beatrice picked up her bag. "Done." "What is in it for you?" I asked. She said, "Power." "To be more specific," she said, "make him fall in love with you, win his trust and marry him if need be." She left. I stood behind the counter of the corner store for another hour and a half until my shift ended. I did not count a single ketchup packet. I just stood there and thought about what I had agreed to, and I tried to remember the last time I had done something that was only for myself. I could not think of one. Lorenzo Lombardi's office was on the 32nd floor of a building that looked like it had been designed to make people feel small. All glass and dark steel and sharp angles. The kind of place where everything was clean and nothing was warm. His assistant, the one I was replacing, though nobody explained why she had left, walked me to his office door, knocked once, and disappeared without looking at me again. He was standing at the window when I came in. His back was to me. He was tall, dark-haired, dressed in a charcoal suit that fit him the way expensive things fit people who have never had to think about money. He did not turn around when the door opened. "You're late," he said. "By 4 minutes," I said. "The elevator was slow." He turned around then. I had seen his photo before the interview, but photos had not done anything useful. He had the kind of face that looked like it had been set a long time ago into one expression and had not moved since. Dark eyes. A jaw that looked like it was carved out of something that did not bend. He looked at me the way a man looks at something he is trying to decide if it is a problem. "You have a business degree," he said. "Yes." "From Hale University." He had clearly read my file. "That's not a bad school." "No. Why are you here instead of somewhere that would actually use it?" I had prepared for this question. I had practiced 3 different answers on the subway that morning. But standing in that room, with his eyes on me like a question I had not studied for, something in me went flat and honest. "Because the job that pays the most is usually the one that needs you the most," I said. "And it seemed like you needed someone who wasn't afraid of you." He was quiet for a second. Then something moved at the corner of his mouth. Not quite a smile. More like the idea of one, considered and then put away. "Everyone is afraid of me," he said. "I'm not," I told him. He hired me that afternoon. 3 weeks in, I learned that Lorenzo Lombardi worked late the way other people breathed, automatically, without thinking about it, as if stopping might be the thing that killed him. I worked late with him because that was the job. I reorganized his files. I managed his calendar. I handled calls from men who never gave their last names and always spoke in a kind of code that I was not meant to understand. I understood most of it within the first week. The night things changed, it was past 11. I was still at my desk outside his office, going through a stack of contracts, when I heard something hit the floor on the other side of the door. I knocked. No answer. I opened the door anyway. He was standing by his desk. His jacket was off. His left sleeve was pushed up, and there was blood on his forearm, a long, shallow cut that had been pressed against the fabric, leaving a dark stain. He looked up when I came in, and for 1 second, just one, the mask slipped. He looked tired. He looked like a man who had been holding himself upright for so long he had forgotten what it felt like to put something down. "I'll call someone," I said. "Don't." His voice was flat. "I don't need anyone." I went to the small bathroom off his office. I found the first aid kit under the sink, which told me this had happened before. I came back out and set it on the desk. He did not say anything. He did not move away either. I cleaned the cut the way I used to clean my grandmother's hands when she had her episodes, carefully, without fuss, without making it into something bigger than it was. He watched me the whole time. Not the way he usually watched things, with that measuring look. Just quietly. "You're not going to ask what happened," he said. "No. Why not?" "Because you'd either lie to me or tell me something I shouldn't know," I said. "And I'd rather not start down either road tonight." He was quiet again. I finished bandaging the cut and stepped back. "You're strange," he said. "I've been told." "I don't mean it badly." He looked at the bandage on his arm. "My mother used to do that. No questions. Just fix things." I almost asked about his mother. I stopped myself, because the way he said it, past tense, flat, like a door he had closed so long ago he had nearly forgotten it was there, told me everything I needed to know. "Go home," he said. "I have 3 more contracts. They'll be here tomorrow. Go home, Riley." It was the first time he had used my name. I went home. I sat on the edge of my bed in the dark apartment and I thought about his face in that moment when the mask slipped, and I told myself it meant nothing. I told myself I was good at my job. I told myself I was doing what I had been sent to do. I told myself all of that 3 times, and I still did not believe it. Beatrice called on a Tuesday, which was her day. She always called on Tuesdays. "How close?" she asked. She never started with hello. "Close enough," I said. "He trusts me with his schedule, his calendar, his calls." "That's not what I'm asking." I knew what she was asking. I looked out the window of the coffee shop where I had taken the call, away from the office. "He's careful," I said. "Everyone is careful," she said. "Until they aren't. Keep going." She reminded me of the rules before she hung up. No truth. No feelings. Walk away when she said to. I repeated them back to her like a student reciting something she had memorized but did not understand. That same week, Lorenzo took me to a gala. He called it a business event. It was held in a ballroom downtown, full of people in expensive clothes who smiled at each other and meant none of it. I wore a black dress I had bought on sale and hoped it was enough. It was not the dress he noticed. It was the way I talked to his business contacts, directly, without flattery, asking questions that made them lean forward. Afterward, in the car on the way back, he looked at me for a long time. You shine in rooms like that, he said. I was just talking to people. No. Most people perform in rooms like that. You were just talking. He turned back to the window. It's different. I sat on my side of the car and I thought about how Beatrice had said things would happen naturally. And I hated her a little, right then, for being right. 1 month later, he took me to his childhood home. It was a house in the suburbs, nothing like I expected. Not grand. Not impressive. A regular house on a regular street, the kind where kids played outside in the evenings and someone always had a barbecue going in the yard. He had grown up there before everything changed. He walked through the empty rooms without speaking. The house had been vacant for years. The wallpaper was peeling in the kitchen. There were outlines on the walls where pictures had hung. My mother left when I was 8, he said. He was standing in the doorway of what had been the kitchen. She didn't disappear. She just made a deal. My father had money she needed. She traded custody for a settlement. Clean. Simple. She got on with her life. I stood very still. I decided after that, he said, that everyone had a price. That affection was just a currency people used when they didn't have anything harder to trade with. He looked at the outline where a picture had been. It made it easier. To trust no one. To expect nothing. Lorenzo, I said. He turned around. I wanted to tell him. Right then, in that stripped-bare kitchen with the peeling wallpaper and the ghost of a family on the walls, I wanted to say everything. Beatrice. The money. The plan. All of it. My phone rang. It was the hospital. Clara had had another episode. They needed me to come in and sign something. Beatrice had said the hospital calls were always real. She had promised me that. I believed her, because Clara was the only thing I could not afford to gamble with. I have to go, I said. He nodded. He did not ask. He just walked me out and called a car, and I left him standing in the driveway of his mother's empty house, and I went to sit beside my grandmother's bed and hold her hand while she slept. I did not cry until I was in the elevator going back down. He asked me on a Wednesday evening in his office, which was exactly the kind of place Lorenzo Lombardi would choose. Not a restaurant, not a rooftop, not anywhere with candles and soft music. Just his office, after everyone else had gone home, with the city spread out behind the window like something he owned. He did not get down on one knee. He just set a small box on the desk between us and looked at me the way he had looked at me the night he'd told me about his mother. I'm not good at this, he said. I don't have the vocabulary for it. But I know that you are the only person in my life who has never lied to me. Who has never wanted something from me that cost me myself. He paused. I know that I am a difficult man. I know that what I am asking you to step into is not simple. But I also know that I do not want to figure out the rest of it without you. I opened the box. The ring inside was simple. Not flashy. Just a clean, honest stone on a plain band. He had chosen something that looked like me, not like him, and that small thing cracked something open in my chest. Lorenzo, I said. You don't have to answer right now. Yes, I said. He went still. Yes. Yes. He did not say anything else for a long moment. Then he reached across the desk and covered my hand with his. It was the most gentle thing I had ever seen him do. I said yes, and the tears that came were not the ones he thought they were. The wedding was everything Lorenzo's world was. Large, controlled, and beautiful in a cold way. A ballroom. Flowers that cost more than my first year's salary. Men in suits standing at corners who were not waiters. I had spent the night before trying to get to him. I needed to tell him before the vows. I had decided that the night before, lying awake in the hotel room the wedding planner had arranged, staring at the ceiling, that I could not stand in front of him and say those words while carrying this secret. It would poison everything. Even if it destroyed the money, even if it destroyed the plan, I could not do it. But Beatrice had eyes everywhere. Every time I found a path to him, through the bridal suite corridor, through the back hall near the venue kitchens, someone was there. A coordinator with a question. A stylist with an emergency. The maid of honor, whom I had never met before, was holding my arm and saying we needed to take photos. By the time I was standing at the top of the aisle, it was too late. He looked at me when I came through the doors. Really looked at me. And for a second, everything Beatrice had told me to be disappeared, and I was just Riley Harper from the corner store, marrying a man who had chosen a ring that looked like me, not him. I walked down the aisle. I said the words. I told myself I would find a way to tell him tonight, after. That it was not too late. That I just needed one honest hour with him, and I could undo all of it. I did not know that during the reception, while we were still at the head table with our untouched champagne, Beatrice was already moving. I saw it on his face before I understood what was happening. We were on the dance floor. His hand was on my back. We were not saying anything, just moving, which was its own kind of conversation we had gotten good at. And then his phone buzzed in his jacket. Once. Twice. He ignored it. A third time, and something in his posture changed. I felt it before I saw it, a hardening, a closing, like a door going shut. He stepped back. He looked at his phone. He looked at me. I do not know exactly what Beatrice sent him. I learned the details later, recordings she had made of me talking to her, cut and rearranged to sound like I was selling his information. Photos of me meeting with her, which were real. A fake ledger with my name in it. The whole thing put together like a story that was 90% true and the last 10% the worst kind of lie. The look on his face was the worst thing I have ever seen. Not anger. Anger would have been easier. It was something quieter than anger. It was the look of a man who had decided a long time ago that this was how things always ended, and had just been proven right. He closed his phone. He put it in his pocket. "Let's go," he said. His study was dark. He did not turn on the full lights. Just a lamp on the desk. He sat behind it, and I stood in front of it, and the space between us felt like it was full of everything we had not said. He told me what he had seen. He said it quietly. He did not raise his voice once. That was the thing about Lorenzo. When he was most dangerous, he got quieter. He spoke in the same tone you might use to describe the weather. "She's my aunt," I said. "She came to me. She offered money for my grandmother's treatment. I needed it. I was desperate. I said yes." I looked at him. "But I never gave her anything that hurt you. I need you to know that." "You were reporting to her," he said. "At first. And then I wasn't, because I couldn't." My voice was shaking. "Lorenzo, everything that happened between us was real. Every word I said to you in that kitchen was real. Every conversation. Every." "Stop." He held up one hand. "I have heard that before. It's real, I promise. Everyone who has ever used me has said those same words." "I'm not your mother," I said. His jaw went tight. "I'm not your mother," I said again, more quietly. "And you are proving right now that you know that. Because if you actually believed I was just like her, you wouldn't be sitting behind that desk looking like this. You would just be cold. You are not cold right now, Lorenzo. You are hurt. And that is different." The silence that followed was the longest of my life. Then he opened his desk drawer and took out a check. He set it on the desk between us. "Your grandmother's care is paid for the rest of her life," he said. "That part was always going to happen. I keep my promises even when other people don't." He looked at me. "You can go." I stared at the check. At his hands on the desk. At the ring on my finger that I had said yes to in an office with the city behind him. "Lorenzo. Riley." His voice broke, just slightly, on my name. Just the smallest fracture. "I can't." He looked away. "Please go." I took off the ring. I set it on the desk beside the check. I did not take the check. I walked to the door, and at the door I stopped. I was going to tell you, I said. The night before the wedding. I tried. I need you to know that I tried. He did not answer. He was looking at the ring on his desk. I walked out into the rain. I took my grandmother, and I left. We went to a small town 4 hours north, the kind of place that does not show up easily on a map. I found a room in a boarding house run by an older woman named Mrs. Page, who asked no questions and charged fair rent, and made soup on Sunday evenings that she left outside the door without being asked. Clara loved her immediately. I changed our last name. Not legally, not yet, just the name I gave at the market and the library and the little cafe where I got coffee in the mornings. I told people I was looking for quiet. They nodded, because small towns understand that. For the first 2 months, I waited for something to happen. For someone to knock on the door. For a car to appear on the street that did not belong there. I checked the windows before I went to sleep. I woke up to small sounds. Nothing came. Slowly, I started to let myself breathe. Clara got stronger with the proper treatment. Her hands stopped shaking. She started sitting up in the evenings to watch the birds outside the window. One morning, I came in, and she was knitting, something she had not done in 2 years, and the sight of it hit me so hard I had to go stand in the hallway for a minute and press my hand against the wall. I got a job at a local accounting firm. Small, quiet work. Spreadsheets, tax forms, and monthly reports for businesses that sold things like lumber and cheese, and locally grown tomatoes. Nobody cared who I had been before. I was just the woman in the second office who was good with numbers and ate her lunch outside on the bench even in cold weather. At night, after Clara was asleep, I sat at the kitchen table, and I let myself think about him. I had spent the first month trying not to. Filling every spare minute with work, with Clara, with anything that kept my hands moving and my mind too busy to go back to that study and that lamp and his face in the dark. It did not work. The mind goes where it goes. I thought about the night he had cleaned his cut, and I had done it for him without making it into something bigger than it was. I thought about the old house and the outline of the pictures on the walls. I thought about the ring box on the desk and how he had chosen something that looked like me. I thought about the way he had said my name when he told me to go. How it had broken, just slightly. I wondered if he had found out about Beatrice. If he had followed the real trail and seen where it actually led. I wondered if it had mattered. I wondered if anything I had said in that doorway had landed anywhere near him. I did not call. I did not write. I had made a choice when I walked out of his door, and the only thing left to do with a choice like that was live inside it. 6 months later, I was at the cafe getting my morning coffee when I saw the headline on the paper left on the table beside me. I did not pick it up right away. I just read the first line from where I sat, and then I picked it up. Lorenzo Lombardi, head of the Lombardi Group, had stepped down from his position. The article said it was voluntary. It said he had cooperated with a federal investigation and turned over evidence against a network of people, senators, judges, a city official, that had been operating under the cover of legitimate business for 2 decades. His aunt, a woman named Beatrice, had been arrested 3 days earlier on charges that took half a column to list. I read the article twice. He had done it. He had followed the real trail, and he had burned it down from the inside, the way I had once thought I might do with the ledger if I ever found one. He had done it legally, cleanly, with evidence and testimony and a kind of courage that cost him everything he had built. The article said he had been seen leaving his building with 1 bag. It said he had not made any public statements. I set the newspaper down. I picked up my coffee. I looked out the window at the street, at the ordinary morning happening on it. A woman walking a dog, 2 kids on bikes, the baker from the shop across the road sweeping his steps. I had not cried in a long time. I was not crying now. I reached into my coat pocket, and I found the ring he had chosen for me. I had not left it on his desk after all. I had picked it up on my way out, so fast and so automatic that I had not known I was doing it until I was in the rain halfway down the block with it in my fist. I had carried it in my pocket for 6 months. Not on my finger. Just in my pocket. The way you carry something you are not ready to put down and not ready to keep. I sat with it for a moment in my palm. Then I put it back in my pocket, and I finished my coffee, and I walked back to the boarding house, where Clara was sitting up in her chair by the window, knitting, with the birds outside and the morning light coming in and everything, for now, safe and still and quiet. "Good morning," she said without looking up. "Good morning," I said. I hung up my coat. I made her tea. I sat across from her, and I watched her hands move, and I thought, this is what I bought. This is what I paid for. This right here. It was enough. It was more than enough. And somewhere far away, in a city I had left and a life I had walked out of, a man was carrying one bag and starting over, and I hoped, quietly, privately, in the part of me that I kept for things I could not say out loud, I hoped that he was okay. I hoped that he had found out he was more than what his mother made him believe. I hoped that one day, in a coffee shop or an airport or just a street somewhere, he would look across a room and feel something easy and good and real, and he would let himself have it this time. I hoped for him the way you hope for people you have loved. Without needing to be part of the answer. A year later, I stopped using the borrowed name. I went back to Harper. It was mine, and it had always been mine, and no one was looking for it anymore. The ring is still in my coat pocket. I don't know what I will do with it. Maybe nothing. Maybe that's fine. Some things you just carry.